Okay, we are live and streaming. Good to have you all here. This is the seventh question and answer. So this should be kind of fun. For those of you who haven't been to this before, you can go down to the chat area down below, and in that space you can put in any question or comment that you have, and I will get to answering them. So yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below and I will answer them. I'm also going to try and save them. And so when I'm done, I'll actually put those into the description of the video. So if you're watching this and has already been out, go ahead and look at the description of the video. Once this is done, I'm going to try and put all of those questions in there and put a timestamp so you can skip to them and listen to the answer I put in. So yeah, gonna be a little bit of fun here, and let me see if there are any comments thus far. Let's see. Not only wood, how you doing? Good to see you here. Having a lot of fun. I had a few early questions, so I figured I would hit those up. Where was that one? This is what happens when I'm a little unorganized. Today was kind of a busy day. I was hoping to have this done earlier, but it didn't come out. Come on, where is that one? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong list. That's why. Rob from Rob's Wood Shop asked, will you be making a tool wall in the shop, French cleat system? Yes, I am. I have made the decision that I'm not going to build a tool cabinet. I've thought about doing that in the past, but just a tool cabinet is when you need to lock up or close your tools. I don't have any reason to lock up or close my tools, so therefore I have no reason for a tool cabinet. I want everything to have very quick access, and a wall of tools is very, very useful for that. It also makes a decent backdrop for videos. So I'm intending on making a tool wall French cleat system, which should be kind of interesting. We will see, but yeah, the fun thing about that is going to actually be cutting the French cleats with a handsaw, and that should be really interesting. Let's see, what are the next question here? Let's see, we have Dutch Woodworking in the house. Good to have you here, man. MK Knives and Som Sunrain. Sorry, I am butchering names. If any of you have questions, go ahead and leave those in the comments and I will get to them. Let's see, Not Only Wood asks, how far are you with the power tool idea? I'm guessing you're talking about, I mentioned adding power tools to the shop. I'm basically done with that. I have the handheld power planer, and that's the only real thing right now I want to add to the shop. I thought about a bandsaw, but with the frame saw is just fun. I can spend an entire day with the frame saw and actually have a lot of fun, and I like that. So I don't really have a massive reason to need a bandsaw. And now that I have, I'm finishing up making the saw bench, and that'll allow ripping to be a much faster process. So I don't really have a huge reason for a table saw. Now, it would be kind of useful for the French cleat. Cutting a 45-degree, ripping a board down is a pain, but I really don't have a reason for that. It's just not as much fun. So yeah, as of right now, I don't see any other power tools that I'm particularly going to be adding to the shop. I think the power planer is the only one on the list. So yeah, hope that answers your question. So just saying, I'm adding these in so I can add them to the list a little later. Let's see, next up, Emile Voyer, is woodworking your full-time job? I tell people I am not a woodworker, as in that is not my full-time job. I am a content producer. I create videos. That is my job. But even that, this last month was actually this is the first month that I actually made money on creating videos, which is kind of cool. I made like $25 last month that I was positive, and that felt pretty good. This month, I'm probably going to be a little negative again. Oh well. So as a job, it's not very good for bringing in money. I am a full-time stay-at-home dad, so staying home with my kids is my job, and that's what I get to do. The fact that I get to make videos about woodworking is the blast. It is my hobby, and I am in love with it. So yeah. So I hope that answers your question, Emily. Dutch woodworking is late here. It's late here as well. Yeah, I bet it is late there. It's got to be what makes it 8:30 in Europe. I think it is. I think we're 5 hours ahead of time. Carl Cook, what is the learning curve on ripping with a roubo frame saw? It isn't that much more than any particular handsaw. It's a fairly straightforward process. Well, I can't really say that because with a handsaw, cutting on the line is a skill. It's something you have to learn. And there are a few tips and techniques that you can do to improve that. But even with the perfect technique, it's something you have to learn. It's something your arms and muscles have to acquire over time. And it's the same thing with a roubo style frame saw. It's going to take a little bit of work to get it going. But once you learn it, you get it pretty quickly. I think it was like 30 feet of cutting before I could stay right on the line, and now when I first was learning, I was using a kerfing plane all the time, and it puts a kerf in that allows the frame saw to track nice and straight. But that takes more time to put that kerf in, and so now that I've gotten fairly decent with it, I almost never use the kerfing plane anymore because I can just follow a line straight down and cut to town. So 30, 40 feet worth of resawing, and you'll be pretty decent at it. You'll start to learn how you can steer it, and it's not only the tipping side to side, but also your movement side to side can cause it to track in and out. So yeah, 30 to 40 feet worth of cutting, and you'll be pretty decent at it. Especially if you're anywhere decent with a regular handsaw. It's a similar task you can kind of learn. Hey Tom, how's it going? Brad, how's it going? For those of you just joining, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'm going to slowly work through those and answer questions from there. Better late than never. Oh yeah. Let's see. Code Blue. I kind of like that name, Code Blue. Wood has gotten expensive, and I'm looking to get thick wood to resaw. Any tips to get good wood cheaper? I do not go to lumber yards. If I have to buy wood, which is kind of rare, I actually will go to a local sawyer. I like to find someone who I can build a relationship for. They cut their trees. They can point out the stump that it came from, and you can usually get a little bit better of a deal from a local sawyer or just a guy with a sawmill. The next thing is cut your own. For $200 to $400, you can get your own chainsaw mill and make your own lumber. That really doesn't cost that much in the long run, and you can be up and running. I have a friend with a chainsaw mill, and so occasionally we'll get some things from him, and that's a great way to do it. Other than that, the barter system is a great thing. I have the camp that I just made a plaque for. I made them a plaque, and they're giving me the white oak to make my new bench. So it's a trade, and that works very well. So finding people you can trade with. Let's see, other places I've done in the past. Craigslist, you'll often find people who are giving away lumber scraps. Or like I had a guy with a barn of lumber that he was selling for 50 cents a board foot. And those don't happen very often, once or twice a year, but when you do, get all you can buy and you'll have a stock to last for a while. I think that's most of the places where I generally get lumber. I am a Craigslist troll, so I will always be on Craigslist, I don't think a troll is a good name for that, but but yeah, I'm always on Craigslist and looking for things on there. Just keep your eyes open and be listening for it. Another thing I have done in the past is I'll buy solid wood furniture that is in bad shape and rip it down and use that lumber to make something else. I've done that several times actually, where I've found at a thrift store a piece of furniture that's like $20, and it has a 50 board feet of wood in it, and the wood is good, just needs to be taken apart and used for something else. That's another possibility. Hope that answers your question, Code Blue. I like the stones in the back. Oh yeah, the stones back here. This is the fireplace that I have. We're actually in my living room. I'm hoping soon, because I'm going to be working on the bench, and once I get the bench done, then I'm going to be doing the main reorganization of the shop and putting my office down in the shop. So when I do these Q&As, will actually be in the shop, and I'm hoping that'll be fun. Crazy day. Why can't I cut straight? Why I can't cut straight? Rip with a panel saw. If it's something that you're finding that the saw is always veering to the same side, it's often because your teeth have more set on one side than the other, and you can do a process called stoning, which I think is kind of a odd name. But stoning is when you take your sharpening stone, and so let's say it is veering to the right. So I'm doing this for your side. So the saw is always veering to the right. Well, you take the saw and you run the stone down the right side of the saw 2 or 3 times right along the teeth. And basically you're filing off the side of those teeth just a little bit. And then give it a try again and see if that works. You may, if you have a saw set, you can reset your teeth so that they're all the same, or you may find that there's one tooth that's sticking out really far on one side. That will cause your saw to curve. If your saw is curving different directions at different times, it's because your technique is off. Most of the time it's because a person's arm is not in line with the saw. So when they are sawing, you actually want the saw to be in line with your hand, to be in line with your arm, so it's all in one smooth motion going back and forth. Most people are sawing with their arm out one side and then the saw going off like this, and that forces the saw to kind of kink as you're swinging your arm, and that will cause you to veer, often causing you to veer in one direction, but that is probably the most common thing. I've seen a lot of other people who, rather than keeping their saw in line with their hand, they move their body in line with the cut, and that will cause you to veer as well. So it's one of those things. The best piece of advice I can give you is video yourself. Actually, set up a video camera and take a look at what you're doing. Set up a video camera pointing down the saw blade down your arm, and you can look at that and go, oh, yeah, I'm doing that. That's bad. Or from the side pointing at you, and you can then look at yourself and it becomes fairly obvious once you video yourself a few times. And I still watch my own videos like, oh, I look horrible doing that. But yeah, most of the time it's because of technique like that. So if any of you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. I'm trying to work down through these, but it looks like you guys are a long ways ahead of me. I'm going to attempt some carving. Nice. This is Leaf 52 Pickup. Cool name. Looking forward to seeing your carving. Do affiliate marketing with your videos. Code Blue. I do some affiliate links. All of the Amazon links below are affiliates, but that's that creates a little bit of income. But I don't think people realize how much expenditure there really is in a video. And so like the events I go to where I promote the channel, or things I purchase for the channel, tools that I purchase to show off in the channel, things like that are regular occurring things, and I probably have like $300 worth of regular monthly bills for website and content and things I do to actually create videos regularly, not to mention purchasing video equipment. So yeah, I do affiliate marketing as well. I know the ripping problem. Yes, this is from MK Knives. It's a skill, and that's one of the things about hand tools is the skill is in the use of the hand tool, whereas a power tool, most of the time the skill is in learning how to set it up. And once you set it up, any monkey can do it. If I were to set up a table saw perfectly, I could show anyone how to make a perfect rip with a board in 2 to 3 minutes, and they could rip boards all day long and they'd be perfect. But I can set up a handsaw perfectly and put a line on the board perfectly and give it to someone, and it's going to take all day to get them to cut straight, if not longer, because it's a skill. And don't expect it to be perfect. It's something you've got to do a long time. It probably took me a year or so of monkeying around with it till I finally got confident that I knew if I drew a line on a board, my saw will cut dead straight down that line. I don't even have to think about it. It's just natural. But it took a year's worth of practice and making some really bad cuts to get used to it. So yeah. 1037. Is it 1037 Europe? Wow. Okay, maybe I'm off by more. Oh, that's right. Europe's not in Greenwich. Europe's in the next one over. So wow. Okay. Got a couple new toys because braces. Sorry, this is from Brad. Do you think I should tear them down and clean them, or just use as is? They're in great condition. If there's no rust on them, or the rust is very minimal, for most braces, just some oil does fantastic, as long as everything is moving well and not squeaking. And the biggest problem with most braces is that the chuck is in line with the back handle, the knob that turns. Most have the U has been kind of compressed over time, and so they're not in the same plane. So you can eventually kind of bend it back into shape, but as long as it's turning well, great. That's the only important thing with a brace. And a little bit of oil, and it will treat you well for years to come. That's from Brad Knecht. I believe I'm saying that right, man. I know you've told me a couple times how to say your last name. I'm sorry. I am miserable with names. I know it. I'm sorry. Let's see, putting that question in here. Ig's Sparks. I'm new to hand tool woodworking, and I'm building up my toolkit. I can find plenty of planes and saws, but can't find a dovetail or carcass saws. Tips on finding good saws. So basically, you're talking about back saws. Any saw with the stiff back plate. They are harder to find, especially in the U.S. From what I've been told, they are more common in Europe, but I don't know. I've never been to Europe to find out. When I first got into it, I found a couple cheap ones, and they weren't all that good, and I quickly got rid of them. And I finally bit the bullet and bought the Lee Nielsen, the Lee Valley with the plastic backs. They're not plastic. They're what's the word I'm looking for? They're a composite back, as opposed to a brass or steel back. And for the money, they are fantastic. I mean, they're 60, 70, 80 bucks a piece, and that's a little steep, but they will treat you great for the rest of your life. They are a fantastic saw for the price, and that is what I suggest most people get. The next place you're going to find them is if you can go to Midwest Tool Collectors Association meet. Any of those meets are going to have them. You're going to spend some money. They're hard to find, and therefore their price goes up. You can occasionally find them on eBay, but again, you're going to be running into problems like that. You don't know what you get until you get there. So yes, back saws are difficult. When I tell a lot of people who are wanting to make dovetails right off the bat, though, get a hacksaw. In all honesty, a hacksaw is a fairly decent dovetail saw, and works really well. You can make some really nice clean cuts. Is it the best saw? No. Will it be the saw you use for the rest of your life? No. But if you need to cut dovetails, a hacksaw will actually do you really nice. There's a fine rip cutting tooth and works really well for especially for the price. You're not going to go wrong there. But yeah, the Lee Valley, the Veritas saws, those are what I usually suggest people get if they have the money. If you don't have the money, then you're going to be you're going to be working with a saw that's not as good. There really is not a cheaper, commonly found replacement for a back saw, other than a hack saw or a small big box store saw. That's one of the hard things about hand tools. Oh well. Ox in the Shop. I love that name, man. I'm also a stay-at-home dad with kids too. Actually, my wife had our second child this past week. Well, congratulations, man. And if you haven't seen Ox in the Shop's channel, you got to go check him out. He does some sweet stuff. Got a chance to meet him this a couple months ago in Atlanta. Very, very cool channel. I try kerfing too. This is from DrCRAZY. I tried a kerfing, but it ran out. Brand new Greaves and Son saw. If your saw is jumping out of the kerfing, so if you made a kerf from the kerfing plane and your saw is jumping out of that track, that is either that the set is way off, and even if it's brand new, that doesn't mean that the set is correct. All it would take is one tooth to get hit and knocked out of plane to cause it to happen. Or your methodology, your body mechanics are way off. So if it's always jumping off the same side every time, my guess is that one of the teeth is out of set. But yeah. But yeah, if you're jumping out of a kerf, that means that something's off. It's probably the teeth. Yeah. So definitely go check out the teeth on it. And when I'm talking about the set on a tooth, I don't know if those, you'll see how if you look down the teeth, they're actually sticking out a little bit past the blade. So the cutting edge of the teeth is wider than the plate of the blade. And that way you can actually turn the saw a little bit. You have a little bit of maneuvering speed. But if on one side the teeth are sticking out way far, then it's going to be turning to that direction, the side that the teeth are sticking out on. Greetings, Wood Nerd. Greetings yourself, and see how you like it. Have you ever worked with horn or buffalo horn, not only wood? No, I have never worked with a horn of any kind. That would be interesting, though. I have never done that. I'll have to put that on the list. Thanks. Dave, new to hand tool woodworking. Sometimes my number 4 plane does not want to peel anything off. I found sharpening helps the blade and blade angle, but still sometimes it doesn't want to bite. There could be several things. It could be that your board isn't flat, so if there's a cup in the board, it will bite at the very end and then stop cutting, and then it will cut at the far end because the board is warped, and so the blade doesn't stick down far enough to get anything in the middle. It could also be that your idea of sharp is not sharp enough, and I find that actually quite a bit. People think they know what sharp is until you actually get to play with what real sharp is. I don't know if that's your problem, but a lot of people that is. My test is shaving hair off my arm. A dull blade will shave hair off of your arm, but it will miss hairs. So if a blade is fairly dull, it will only cut like 1 in 10 hairs that it passes by. If a blade is fairly sharp, it will cut like half the hairs it cuts. A truly sharp blade will cut every single hair on the very first pass. And so I like to tell people, if you try that on your hair and you cut all but a few hairs on that first pass, then go back. It's not sharp enough yet. A really, really sharp blade is extremely impressive, and until you actually try that, you don't know what you're missing. Other problems could be that the chip breaker is it's sliding forward and over the front edge of the iron. I've seen a few people on that. But if the iron is sharp and the iron is sticking down below the sole far enough to engage with the wood, and the chip breaker isn't in his way, well, it should be taking curls. So, if you do have any problem with it, and if you want to, send me a video of what you're seeing. I'd love to look at the video and give you some pointers on that. Hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, let me know. And if you have questions, feel free to email me. I have an email on my website, and you can look it up there. Sorry, I need a drink. I don't know why I'm a little dry today. Maybe it's because I've been out running. But, yeah. Much better. It's amazing what water will do for you. Okay, let's see. What's the next question down here? It would have been 54. MK Knives. I lately have the great luck of finding a Distin at a flea market, which is hard in Germany. You probably noticed. Yeah, that's one of the interesting things. In Europe, most of the joinery cutting saws were actually done with frame saws or bow saws, and that was the normal way that joinery is done. Most all cutting was done with a bow saw, as opposed to a panel saw or a back saw, which is one of those interesting things about history. I was just listening to Crafted this, and this popped up. Awesome. Well, thank you, Travis. And Travis is going to be doing some panels here soon. I actually got a chance to swing by his house March, I think it was. But yeah, it was kind of cool to get to hang out with you. So looking forward to swinging by there some other time. TJ was woodworking. Good to have you here, man. Which, TJ, are you at 1,000 people yet? 1,000 subscribers? You're really darn close to 1,000 subscribers last time I looked. I didn't see if you hit it yet. So if any of you haven't subscribed to TJ's Wood Shop, go check him out. You don't have Craigslist in Germany. That is sad. You should have something similar to it. John Peeler, I am looking for a good smoother for figured and tough grain, and know that Veritas Custom high angle frog smoother. How's that working out for you? I love it. It is my absolute favorite hand plane I currently have. It is a beautiful, beautiful plane, and just so any of you know, if you haven't seen, the Veritas makes what they call the custom hand plane, and it allows you to customize it, and you can choose your tote and your front grip. You can choose the angle of the frog, the steel of your iron. There's a bunch of little things like that you can adjust and pick exactly what you want in a hand plane. And for my dedicated smoothing plane, this is a plane that I use on highly figured wood when I want to get that planed finish on a wood that is very difficult to use. I have this plane. It has a 55-degree bed angle. I can close the mouth on it and make it a very tight mouth. I can put the chip breaker really darn close to the edge, and I can get a glass smooth cut on the worst, most terrible figured wood with this hand plane. And yes, to this day, I love that beast. And it is a blast. And I leave that one set up for the really highly figured finish smoothing. I could easily adjust it for other things, but I like to keep it for that. Yeah, TJ's a Craigslist hunter too. Yeah, it's once you figure out Craigslist, it is a blast. Oh no, I lift myself. Sorry, trying to catch up to where questions are at. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. I'm about halfway through the list right now, so. Is there any way to sharpen up table saw blades? Yes. Well, if you have a carbide table saw blade, you can sharpen it with diamond plates. And so particularly they make those little those little diamond paddles. So they're like a plastic paddle with a little diamond plate on the end, and you can use that to sharpen up the edge. They are a pain to sharpen, and I'm kind of thankful I don't. If you're having a high-speed steel saw blade, then yes, you can sharpen that up with a regular sharpening stone, and you basically rotate the tooth, put the plate on it, and sharpen that one, and then rotate to the next tooth and put the plate on it and sharpen that one. And it is very, very time intensive. And a pain. First project for a 16-year-old, minimal or no power tools. Make them a tool tote. I'm actually in the process of making one with my daughter who's 16. Who's 6. 16. 16-year-old could make just about anything. I made, when I was 16, I had an entire bedroom set and dining room table I'd made. So yeah, anything. I don't like the idea of a project being a good first starter project. Any project can work. You just don't expect it to be perfect the first time, and you live with it and you go on. For a 16-year-old, you should be able to make just about anything. Just jump in, have fun. Yeah. Making a box with hand tools is always a nice first project. Yep. There really isn't a bad project. My first hand tool project was a coffee table, and I had dovetails and Morrison tenon and bridle joint and half lap and dados and grooves and the whole 9 yards on it. And I just learned as I went. If I messed up a piece, oh well, I cut a new one. And even if I messed up a piece and it still worked, then great, I used it. Did it look perfect? No, but I still use it. It's a great coffee table. Don't worry about a project being really great. Just take it step by step. Learn that particular step, learn that particular joint, and build it. Anyone can do it. Good afternoon from Buffalo. This is 3219 Geek. What angle do you sharpen your plane irons to? For my bevel down traditional planes, I sharpen them at 30 degrees. It allows you to, you don't have to sharpen quite as much because you're not taking off quite as much material. Also, with a 30 or a 35 degree angle, the tip is going to last a little bit longer, so you don't have to sharpen quite as often. And with the bevel down, you can go all the way to 35 without making any difference that you'd notice at all. And that's one of the things that I don't really like as much about bevel up planes is, if you want it to be a low angle, you have to sharpen it at 25 or 20, and that blade does not last as long. It will dull far quicker than a blade sharpened at 30 or 35. So yeah, all of my bevel downs are sharpened at 30 degrees. So yeah, thank you, 3219 Geek. Don't ask a hand tool guy. Yes, no, I mean, don't ask a hand tool guy about sharpening a power tool. That's one of the other big things about the difference between power tools and hand tools. A power tool ethos is if it's dull, you throw it away and you get a new one. Whereas a hand tool ethos is if it's dull, you sharpen it. One of the things I kind of like about it. Thanks, TJ. You are a huge help. Trying to find the next question here. Color Squad, I'll get busy patching with hand tools this summer. Practicing with hand tool. I don't know why I read patching. 1 week left of school. Cool. Yeah, just jump in. Have fun. Don't worry about messing up. Yes, you're going to make mistakes. And with hand tools, nothing is ever going to be perfect. You can spend your entire life and just running after perfection. And the more you run after perfection, the more you see small imperfections. And the smaller and smaller you see all these imperfections. There is no such thing as perfect. So just be willing to jump in, make mistakes, and it won't look great, but it will be functional. And the next one you make will look even better. So yeah, have fun. learn to enjoy messing up. I think that's a good motto. My current projects are some built-in drawers. I'm using reclaimed wood, and some of the planes are warped. Any tips on flattening them out? This is from Thomas Witten. Flattening the sole of a hand plane is kind of daunting for some people. The easiest way for me is to get a piece of glass and put it on top of the bench top, and then put sandpaper down. And what I like to actually get are belts from like sanding belts. My local big box store, I can get sanding belts that are 6 inches wide by 42 foot long when I cut them in half. 42 inches long when I cut them in half. And I can get a belt at 30 grit, which is an extremely coarse grit. And so I'll lay that out there, and I'll put my hand plane on it. I put in the blade, the chip breaker. I back the blade off so that the blade isn't anywhere near the mouth, but I lock it all in so that it's all nice and tight, and it's the way it is used. And then I will run that plane along the sandpaper on the glass. And with like a 30 grit sandpaper, it really only takes 2 to 3 minutes, and you see perfect scratches running all the way across it. And then I'll go to like a 60 or an 80 grit sandpaper, and I'll run it a few times on that. And then I'll do it through a few more. I'll probably do like a 120 or 150, and then a 220, and then a 400 grit. And 400 grit's where I stop. Some people will go higher and higher, but in all honesty, the first time you take it to wood, you're going to be putting scratches in the bottom that are the similar as or greater than 400 grit. So going higher than 400 grit is rather pointless. And even if I'm doing like a number 8, with that method, starting with a really, really high grit, like 30, it doesn't take that long. I can flatten the bottom of a number 8 in 20-30 minutes. It is not that much of a problem as long as you start with that extremely coarse grit first. I think that's what throws a lot of people off. A lot of people are starting with like 100 grit, and it will take you forever to flatten a plane with 100 grit. It's a pain, an absolute pain. Hours in the shop. Wow, I am way behind on these questions now. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get to them all today. You guys have been asking quite a bit. I recently required a Bailey number 3 on a farm auction. It had a nick in the blade that was over an 1/8 inch deep. I sharpened it out, but now the blade fails to reach through the mouth of the plane. I don't know why it wouldn't be able to slide down farther. The chip breaker is what determines how far the blade can move in and out. Because the chip breaker, the depth gauge goes through the iron and then engages with the chip breaker, and that is what moves the iron in and out. So you should be able to sharpen the blade infinitely, well, at least until you run out of actual blade. So I don't know exactly why that would be a difficulty. Send me some pictures and I'll take a look. I don't know. And if you have questions, my email, you can contact me on my website, and I can help you out there. But yeah, if any of you have questions, send me pictures or video of what you're doing, and I'd love to help out. Oh, and TJ asks, what's up, James? And I have to go, drywall. Thanks, TJ. 61 people watching. Hoolah! Can a slit blade in a Stanley 45 or 55 be used as a kerfing plane? I'm guessing you're talking like a 16th inch cutter. Yes, yeah, you can do that. It will be wider than your saw kerf, but you can use it. The nice thing about an actual kerfing plane is that you are cutting with the exact same saw in the kerfing plane as you would be if you were, with your saw. And so the thickness of the kerf made by the kerfing plane is the exact same as the saw, so the saw is held in place very much better. Whereas with like the, you're talking about the slit or knife at the back of the Stanley 45 or 55. In that case, no, that doesn't reach down far enough to make anything. The slitting blade is more for cutting thin material like veneers or like 1/8 inch thick material. And the thing where the slitting blade is very nice is you can actually cut through the piece of wood without removing any material. So you can actually then go back and glue those two pieces back and not have any seam in between them because they were originally together. So you don't remove any material. So the slitting blade will not. If you were talking about a thin cutting iron, then you can, but even the 1/16 inch, the smallest cutting iron, is going to be fatter than your saw blade. It will work for that, but you're going to be taking out more material. So I guess it depends on if you want to do that. Sorry, reading down, trying to find the questions. Some of the, yeah, I'm not even going to get into that. If you like, well, thank you, TJ. Wow, not many questions right now. Jumped out. Oh no. Sorry, trying to find where the questions are. Have to go for now. Good morning, Gary Painting from Australia. Wow, good to have you here. It's got to be pretty darn early for you. Investing in some planes isn't changed in the way. Investing in the same plane, it's changed the way I finish. Oh, I guess you're talking about the combination plane. That's from Tom. Yeah, that I love that thing. The combination plane from Veritas is phenomenal, and I love all the choices. I can actually make one that fits me precisely, and the way I like it. With Craigslist, turn on the notifications. Yes, Craigslist recently, about a year ago, allowed you to turn notifications on. I have an app that I use that is a little bit easier to mess with, but yeah, you can actually get notifications when Craigslist terms pop up. GG Woodwork says, hey James, what is the best way in your opinion to shape handles for chisels, etc. by hand? For chisels, I like an octagonal handle. I don't know, I like the textured feel of that, and you can put it in a vise and just use a plane to run down one side, and then you run down a parallel side on the other, and then you rotate it 90 degrees and you run down two more, so you have a perfect square, and then you rotate it 45 degrees and you run down a corner until it's the same amount you have on either side, and you rotate it 90 degrees and you run down the next corner, and you run down the next corner until you have 8 sides that are all the same. I really like that feel. It feels great. Other than that, you can make a plane that's not a plane. What's the word I'm looking for? A lathe. There's the word. You can make a lathe that's not powered. Make a foot powered lathe. They work great. I'm actually hoping to be making one later this fall. I want to make a couple of them actually, so we will see how that goes. But with a lathe, you can turn it to any shape you want, and a chisel handle is a very picky thing. I think the chisel handle is far more important than the steel made of the chisel, because if you like the feel of the chisel, it's something you're going to use more. If you're talking about handles like as in plane handles, your totes, I like to use a series of files, rasps, and shape it down with that. So I'll start with a really coarse rasp, and then I'll take it down to a finer rasp, and then into a coarse file, and then very, very fine file. And most of the time, the last thing I'll touch it is a file. Sometimes I will use a bow saw, which I made a bow saw a while ago. That is not a bow saw, a bow sander, which is basically an endless strip of sandpaper from a belt sander with a little bent piece of wood inside that keeps it sprung and basically turns that sanding belt into a bow. And that will allow you to contour to any of the shapes in the handle. And sometimes that's the last thing that touches the wood, but depends on what I'm feeling like. I hope that answered your question. I don't know if it did or not. Any chance of a collaboration with Clean Fill Wanted? This is from Travis. Yeah, I am always open to collaborations, and I've talked with him a couple times. Basically, if anyone wants to propose a collaboration, I am listening. Yeah, and I really like what he does, especially now that he's getting his shop back up. He'll start putting up some videos here soon, so I'm looking forward to what he has coming up. If any of you haven't seen Clean Fill Wanted, his channel is kind of cool. Oh, now I got to translate all this. There's a lot of German. I'm guessing it's German or Dutch. Sorry, guys, I can't read it. I'll come back and translate it a little later. What do you do for controlling the amount of scraps in the shop? This is from Adam Eastbrook. I burn them. Basically, if I can't make anything out of the piece, it goes in the burn pile. I know that is kind of sacrilegious for a lot of people, but you know, if it's a piece that can't be used, it gets burnt. Now, when I say it's a piece that can't be used, it's a piece that can't be used. I make a lot of hand tools, and I use very small pieces. If it has any figuring on it, it has to be pretty darn small before I throw it away. Most everything in my scrap wood bin is smaller than a golf ball, or is bad wood. In other words, it's punky and it isn't structurally sound wood, and it takes a while for that. I'm going to be doing a video here soon on wood storage, and I will be going into how I organize my scrap bin, so that should be kind of interesting. So hope that answered your question. But yeah, I save most all the wood I have because I use a lot of small scraps when making hand tools. But don't be afraid of burning wood. Literally, wood grows on trees. There's more of it out there. What do you do with wood shavings? Oh, this is a hard question. It is so hard, especially when you're first starting to get rid of wood shavings. I mean, they're very cool. They're beautiful, and you don't want to burn them, but they really make good fire starter. I actually use them as mulch around the house, and I'll put them in the flower beds, and that works fairly well. But even with that and all of the flower beds I have, I still make more wood curls than that. The rest of them then get put into the compost pile and mulched into fertilizer for the garden. So yeah. In small quantities with the right types of curls, there are a bunch of little crafts you can do. If you know of friends with hamsters or gerbils, it makes good bedding for them. But other than that, it's trash. You really can't do too much with it, so don't be afraid to burn it, throw it out. Yeah, it's kind of one of those sad things with hand tools. It looks so great, but it really is kind of worthless stuff. Do you use no power tools like drills, screwdrivers? No, I don't use any drills in my shop. The brace and bit is just about as fast as a drill driver most of the time, and a lot more fun. My one concession to power tools is a power planer. And if I wasn't making videos, I wouldn't use that. But in order to put out enough videos and actually start doing some more of the furniture builds, I need to be able to plane faster. And so I have a large, beefy power planer that I absolutely love. And it makes quick work of it. The nice thing about that with a handheld power planer is that it is something that I can use much like my hand tools. I clamp the work to my bench and I use it just like a hand tool. I still see the wind and the twist in boards by using winding sticks. And so it still takes that hand tool skill, but I can march through wood much faster for other projects. So that's my one concession to power tools. Does anyone have any experience with Irwin or Marple's chisels? Marple's chisels. Irwin, well, yeah, now that Irwin bought Marple's. Ones with the yellow and red handles. No, I have not used them yet. Sorry. I've been told they're decent, not as good as the old ones, but yeah. There you go. Where do you buy your frame saw kit? The one that I use is from Blackburn Tools. I have a video. I think I have 3 videos now on making frame saws, and all 3 of them are Blackburn's tool kits. Really, really good stuff, and for the price, he is, in my mind, the best price out there. I have also built the kit from Bad Axe. Really good kit. I like his stuff. Phenomenal. I think I like the one from Blackburn a little bit more, but you're not going to go wrong with either kit. Hope you answered your question. That was from Anthony Boudreaux. Are you the same one who does food? I know that name from somewhere. Most chisels are good if you sharpen them properly. The cheap ones just don't stay sharp as long. That is right on. That's GG Woodwork. You know, for the longest time, and I still, on my bench, I have the cheap wooden-handled chisels from Harbor Freight. They do not hold an edge as long as a good one, but they work great. And you can't beat the price for $10 for 7 chisels. That's just, I think it's 6 chisels, maybe it's 6 chisels. But I mean, it's a great price. And they have treated me well for probably, 3 years now? And I just keep resharpening them. And they're on my bench. They're ones I use every day. Now, the more you get into it, the more you do like having good steel. But I still think the most important thing about a chisel is the feel in your hand. Do you like the grip? Do you like the handle of it? So, yeah. GG Woodworks asks, do you source responsibly cut wood, e.g. Cut from trees down that they plant another? Most all of my wood comes from urban logging. In other words, local timber guys who are on Craigslist and someone wants a tree cut down in their front yard. So they cut down the tree and turned it into lumber. Or like a camp that was clearing land to put up buildings. And so they cut down a bunch of trees and made lumber. And so that was... that's where most of my wood gets from. So I can actually go out and point to exactly where the stump is. Was it replaced with other trees? No, because the land was used for something else. So I don't know if you would call that responsibly cut lumber. I do not buy from lumber mills or lumber yards because I really haven't had any reason to do so. So hope that answers your question. Timber and Anew said, hi James, I recently made a spring pull lathe of sorts, and there's not a lot of videos on using one, especially the tools and techniques. Yes, I am. I love using a spring pull lathe. It is my favorite lathe to use. It's fun. Yes, I am. That is probably going to be the first lathe I make this fall. I'm wanting to make one before Christmas because I want to make a bunch of Christmas gifts on a lathe this year, but we will see. So yeah, I will be having videos about not only making the lathe, but its use and function, and that should be a blast. Sorry, I'm adding in these comments so that I can add them to the description afterwards so people can come back and answer. Hi James, can you sharpen rasps and files? This is Andrew Bonicha. Sorry, Andrew. To be honest, no. You will see videos online about sharpening it with acid. But in all honesty, that's not actually sharpening it. It's kind of cleaning it. It's taking off some of the some of the junk that's on it. But it is not sharpening the file or rasp. There really is no way of sharpening it. You can anneal it, in other words, soften the steel, and then go back in and basically recreate it, and then harden it again. But there's no reason to do that. Once a file softens, once a file loses its edge, then you get a new one. And you use the file steel for something else. You can give it to a blacksmith friend, or turn it into a plane iron. There are a lot of other uses for that. Curtis Davis, do you think that the old Bailey number 3 is worth the purchase of a new blade and lever cap? Where might you find them? It would depend on the condition of the old blade and lever cap. If the old blade and lever cap, chip breaker. If the old ones are good, no, I don't get newer, thicker blades for any of my tools. The amount of benefit they provide is just not worth it, in my opinion. That's different for everyone, but for me, it's just not worth it for me. So yeah, hope that answers your question. I don't see a reason for getting a newer, thicker blade. MK Knives, do you consider getting a lathe or even making a treadle lathe? Yes, I am planning on making one this fall. I am looking forward to making a lathe. I need one in the shop. So yeah, there will be several videos coming out this fall on lathes. Sorry, my phone is ringing. I'm trying to turn it off. 26. Question from GG Woodworks. In your opinion, which is the best way to shape a chisel handle? Oh, I already answered that question. I don't know why I didn't get that. GG Woodworks says, you can also turn shavings into projects with some epoxy. You can make coasters and etc. Yeah. Actually, I did a collaboration a while ago with... oh, come on. This is going to kill me now. I can't remember the name of the channel. Oh, well, I'll try and leave it in the comments below. But, yeah, I sent him some of the cool shavings I had, and he made coasters in epoxy. But even then, you can only use so many shavings. Yeah. So for hobbyists, probably just the acid method will work, as the rest is too much afford. There are some YouTube videos on acid sharpening. This is from NK Knives. And I have to go back to the acid sharpening from files is really kind of a misnomer. After running them through an acid bath, they will cut better, but you are not sharpening them, you're cleaning them. You can do the same thing with a couple other methods. So I like to make that distinction because people think that they're actually getting a new edge. You're not getting a new edge, and if you do feel the difference between a brand new one and that one, you'll see an obvious difference. You're making it better? Yes. Are you sharpening it? No. So yeah, putting it in acid will give you more life out of it, kind of. Let me try it this way. What's up? From Michigan Woodworker. Let me do this one again. Drywall. So great to meet you at Handworks. This is Arbear6767. Good to meet you. Well, I don't know your... basically... So yeah, DrCRAZY's going to sleep. Good to have you here, man. Sleep well. I think I'm getting close to the end here. I'm actually getting close to time where my wife is probably going to be coming out here soon. I found a German documentary from the 90s about a guy making a living resharpening files, but that's the only source I found. Yeah. Basically, the way resharpening files actually is annealing them. So you're softening the steel, and then you're basically going back and recreating the file. So you're using tools to reshape those teeth. And yeah, it's basically the same thing. It's a little easier to resharpen one than to make a whole new one, because you already have all the lines and grooves in there that you can push those teeth back in. And then after that, then you go back and harden it again. But for the average Joe, it's not worth the effort. And yeah. Guest early from Florida. Sorry, I'm reading down here to see. James, are you a knife enthusiast? Do you collect pocket knives? You should really check out Great Eastern Cutlery. Yeah, you can tell the kids just woke up. So, yeah, actually, I do have a few knives that I kind of collect. I have not seen Great Eastern Cutlery. I'll have to look that up. So, thank you. That's from ColoredSquid. ColoredSquid? I like the name. So you asked if I was related to your teacher. My answer was no, but my question for you is, where did you go to school, and was it the UBC? No, I did not go to school for woodworking. I am self-taught. Well, my father taught me, and his friend. He was I recently found out he passed away a little while ago, but he owned a cabinet shop in northern Michigan, David Wisely. And yeah, he had one of these shops that you would drool over. He had dedicated routers for every router bit he owned. He had 2 table saws. He had a 30-inch planer. He had all of the bells and whistles. And that was the shop I learned woodworking in. My undergraduate studies were at Maranatha Baptist University in biblical counseling. My master's was from the University of Wisconsin in technical theater, and now I'm a stay-at-home dad teaching woodworking. So a little bit of fun. What was your favorite special or unique tool? LGS Sparks. I'm sorry, I would love to find out what LGS is for. My favorite special or unique tool. Ah, man, this is a hard one. My favorite tool is whatever tool is in my hand at the time. I have to say the compass plane. Once you get the compass plane up and working, it is so much fun. But then, a really nice wooden body, round bottom spoke shave is fantastic. But then, I have to say a 1/2-inch chisel, because that is like the basic tool that everyone's got to use. But I don't know if that's really unique. But yeah, but one of my favorites is the frame saw. So the frame saw has got to be cool, and it is. It's kind of unique. A massive frame saw is. So I guess they're all my favorite. Sorry, I hope that answered your question, but I guess it really didn't. Any wood or riffler file, maybe where you get. Any word on riffler file vid, and maybe where to get good ones. Yes, I am hoping. I was going to record a video on my last carving session, but it just didn't come together. I want to do a video on the rifflers and files and show how they can be used in conjunction with carving. But I'm waiting for a project that fits into, so that might actually be down the road a little bit farther. Sorry. But yeah, I'm hoping to do that soon. I bought mine actually, if you go to YouTube on the Unplugged Woodworker group, there is a guy on there in Europe that was selling them, and he sold them for about $1 a piece, and I bought almost 300 of them, all different and fantastic. So that is where I got mine. And that's killing me. What is his name? I'm not going to be able to find it right now either. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it at the moment. Sorry. But yeah, I got it through a friend on Facebook. So, are there any good resources for making a dovetail plane? Yes, actually, Bearcat Wood. He makes saws, and he makes some of my all-time favorite back saws. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous work. But he did a couple videos on making a back saw. And, you know, anyone can do it. It's really not that difficult of a process if you break it down into its individual steps. You buy the steel for the plate, you buy the brass for the back, you buy the wood for the handle, you shape it all, you put it together, and voila, you have a saw. Yeah, just about anyone can make their own dovetail saw. So, hope you like that. But yeah, definitely check out Bearcat Wood. His YouTube channel is phenomenal. Do you have any videos on pow planes? Truululan. Cool name, I guess. Sorry. I don't have any videos on... Well, I did a restoration video like a year and a half ago on restoring a plow plane. I don't own any old traditional wooden plow planes. I have several videos on Stanley 45, Stanley 55. And if you call those a plow plane, although they're more of a combination plane. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. But no, I don't have any videos on old style wooden plow planes. No. Sorry, trying to copy this over so I can have these for later. So I think I'm actually getting close to the end of the questions. If you have any questions that you really want me to answer, go ahead and put them in right now. Otherwise, I'm going to be ending this here in a moment. As soon as I enter that in. Wrong button. Trying to do 3 things at once. I really need to get an assistant and help out with these, kind of like the Wood Whisperer does with his wife. That would be cool. But my wife doesn't want to do much with this, so well. How long have you been woodworking? Since I was 5 years old. I was stumbling into the shop with my father. It is in my blood, and I love it. Hand tools are a newer thing, but yeah, I've been doing woodworking for, what, 27 years now? No, I am 33, so that would make 28 years. Wow. 28 years I've been woodworking, so I hope that answers your question. Adding that in, 36. Good night to all the German friends. Looks like it's bedtime for you all. What are the metal pins in a corn knife used for cutting corn stalks in the field called? I have no idea. It's from Inspired Woodworks. I don't know. I've never used a corn knife. Not an assistant, a minion. Well, that's what my kids are. My kids are the minions. Now really liked your laser knife. Sharp looking. Nice work. Oh, is that from Inspired Woodworks? Wow. Have you ever heard of Yukat knife, a traditional Russian knife? No, I have not. I would love to see it. Yeah. So I guess that's about it for tonight. I will probably be doing another one of these in about a month. And this has been a lot of fun. So if you like this, please hit like, hit subscribe, and you know the drill. Thanks to everyone. And until next time, have a wonderful day. Now I got to find the button that turns this thing off.